All right, guys. Sorry about getting this out late, but we have a pocket change market report, the final one for the month of October. So we're going to deep dive into eBay, take a look at some of the most notable errors, varieties, key dates, things of that nature that sold on the platform just in the last 48 hours, and kind of see what's being found out there in the wild. Whether you're an avid change searcher, hunter, gatherer, you love coin roll hunting, or maybe another way to obtain some of these coins is to go to the coin shops, coin shows, and just simply cherry picking these. Some dealers, they just don't care about a lot of these errors and varieties that we speak of. So you might be able to get these for a pretty good price where you could turn around and flip them and make just buco amounts of money. So normally we put this video out every Wednesday, and we also have a weekend edition too that goes out on Saturday and Sunday. I've been out the last few days, with a bug, but now we're back the best I could, and we're going to talk about these coins here today. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And by the way, we're back in full vengeance force here, because we have a show later on this evening at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern on the platform Whatnot. It is our one lone show for the holiday week, or for the holiday week, the Halloween week. Tomorrow is Halloween, so we won't be doing a show for tomorrow, but we're doing it tonight on Thursday. Again, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. We're going to have some nice type coins. There's been a lot of demand for copper and cents and all that great stuff. So we are going to have that again here this evening. Everything's starting at $1. That's the good news. But yeah, I personally invite you guys down for some fun community. You get to ask me some questions that's been burning in your heart for the last number of months, and we'll get the ball rolling. If you wanted to, go ahead and scan that QR code that you see on screen to get things started. And if you sign up under me, you get $15 off your very first item. Not only on my shop, but among all the other shops that exist. And guess what? We got Silver Seeker, Rob Finds Treasure, Coin Crew, Couch Collectibles. A lot of the big name YouTube stars are on this platform. So it has to tell you something. This little fledgling company, Whatnot, is going places. And I'm glad to be a part of it. By the way, if you didn't want to use the QR code, we also have the links down below in the description box, and also pinned to the comment section of this video too, if that makes it easy. Sign up today. Don't be one of the people on the outside looking in, because everybody is joining this platform. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Okay, we got about 20 selections here today to focus on. First one up looks to be just a regular good old 2004 $50 bill. All right, this, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of something that most people really won't pay too much attention to. At first glance, it just looks like a $50 bill that you grab right straight out of the ATM, right? But to the trained eye, what we have here is actually a little bit of a miscut. It's not outlandish or wild or crazy, but you can tell looking at the note it's a little off-center, okay, which indicates a miscut. All of the other printings are in full registration from one another, so, there's no misaligned print, nothing like that. When we look at the reverse of this note, it's kind of hard to tell that it's even miscut, because the bordering on the reverse of a lot of our current notes are a lot more broader. There's less design that goes right up to the edge. So just by looking at the reverse of the note alone doesn't completely 100% give you everything you need to know. So that's why I tell people, for every coin that you pick up, for every dollar bill or $20 bill that you pick up, always look at both sides. Exhaust your options there, because you never know what you're going to find, or you never know what you're going to miss. So, pretty high denomination here, right? I've told a lot of you that you got to watch out for these high denomination notes with like fancy serial numbers and small kind of errors. This is, by all intents and purposes, a very minor error, but this person ended up selling it for $80 in a buy it now kind of setting. So let's think about this. So your initial investment's $50. So you got to take that off the top. That leaves you $30. That also includes shipping and fees. So while this person right here didn't make a ton of money, I'm thinking maybe $12 to $15 of pure profit. It's something that will, kind of feed into the system of making money on the platform. And if you were like a newer person selling on eBay, it's things like this that can make a pretty good difference. So I would say if you can afford to hold on to a higher denomination note like this $50 bill, I would encourage you to do so because you'll end up with a nice sale as long as you know that you have an error of some sort on there. Next one that we have here, again, check your scrap silver because there's a lot of cool stuff to find, both on the die varieties front and also the U.S. Mint errors. All right, 1955, Franklin half dollar is actually a pretty readily available date out there. And it's one that, you'll come across quite extensively if you're going through like scrap 90% silver, which it's my understanding that not a lot of people are really in love with 90% silver, even though silver has exploded here in the last few months. But I'm telling you, this is going to be an opportunity to take something that you had paid melt for and make 3, 4, 5 times your money. This one right here, by the way, has a little shallow disc clip. That's right there by the date where it says trust, the last few letters of trust there. You could actually see the Blakesley effect, which is a flattened opposite edge rim that you normally would associate with clips. Because as these planchets are being fed into the striking chamber of a press, they don't stay flat. They're going to pivot a little bit because of that missing rim area where the clip is. All right, so it's going to tilt a little bit and kind of create that flattened edge that you see there. So this one right here, surprisingly, sold for $45, okay, which is about 2.5 times melt off of this particular piece. So again, we're kind of using our heads here. We're kind of like squeezing the blood out of a turnip. Mint errors on earlier obsolete type coins are actually very desirable today. And I would certainly take advantage of that. So, while you can, go back, hunt through your old Roosevelt dimes, your Mercury dimes, your Standing Liberty quarters, Barber quarters, and everything else that is no longer being made today in silver, and try and find something. All right, you're going to find a strike-through, a lamination, a clip, and that will all be good because it's going to play into the ultimate goal of making money on the platform. $1 silver certificate. Although you wouldn't know it because it's got no print on the front. It is completely missing. So what in the world is happening here? Did someone possibly doctor this note to remove that? Actually, not quite. There is an overprint with serial numbers and all that great stuff. It's on the reverse. Check that out. So you see the serial number with actually the what looks to be the Treasury signature also on there. So they print all that on the third process of these notes. What's kind of crazy is that not only is it on the reverse, which means the sheet was turned the wrong way as it's being fed into the printer, but it's also diagonal. The sheet was turned quite a bit, 45 degrees. This is pretty nutty to witness something like this. And I've probably seen maybe 2 or 3 other examples very similar to this. And guess what? If you find one, these are quite very expensive. For instance, this particular note, while condition-wise is not all that, it's kind of quite honestly hot garbage, sold for $1,250. Based on the merit of rarity here, this is something that if you're not looking for it, you're probably going to miss it. You could find a note that is completely missing the front print, but you wouldn't think about looking at the back sometimes and you'll miss out. So, pretty cool one. Lots of money here, as you would expect, because it's a rare error, We've seen this before. So in 2004 on the Denver struck coins for Wisconsin statehood. They made a low and high leaf variant. This is actually a high leaf variety. I would say that most of you probably already know this, so I'm not going to do any close-ups. I'll just assume that you know where it is, right on the little corn cob right over there. There's an extra engraved upper leaf there on the left side. So this one here is selling for $110. It looks pretty good too. I would say it's probably like a choice BU example. Very desirable today. Graded examples tend to go for a ton of money of this particular piece. The high leaf is marginally a little bit more pricier than the low leaf. All right, so something to keep in mind there. We went for beauty to the beast with this 1907 Liberty V nickel. Boy, this thing is pretty rough, but it's got a planchet flaw, as seen there on the obverse. It's probably a delamination of some sort. Pieces of the coin was just flaking off there at that point. But boy, this thing had seen its time in commerce, that's for sure. And you know our rhetoric here on Blue Ridge Silverhound. Ugly sells, right? And keep that in mind. There's beauty to be had in both brilliance, newly minted coins, but also the old stuff too. Because you can only imagine how many hands this particular coin had passed through over its tenure. Someone did save it though, and ended up selling it on eBay to the tune of $10, right? For a coin otherwise that you could probably pick up for about $1 or less at your local coin shop. If you're lucky enough to find one of these roll hunting with that planchet flaw on there, good job. You made yourself a few dollars. You became officially famous. And that's how you do it. And also look at lots too. I saw this lot and I'm like, man, someone is going to make a killing off of this lot of 6 1983, 87, and 1995 Washington quarters. And they're all either off-center, broad struck, partial tilted collar, whatever you want to call it. But let's say if we were going to gauge value on these 6 pieces, it's going to be on average about $25 per coin. The 83 off-centers that look really good, they're going to be right around $30 to $40, and then the 95 and 1987, which aren't nearly as impressive. You probably get $15, $20 out of each of those. But all in all, you really have to look out for bulk lots because these sellers are willing to accept less in return of not having to image each coin and sell them individually, because apparently that's too much work. So in this particular case, this 6 coin lot ended up selling for $23.60 with 3 total bids. Did I mention that someone is going to make a killing off of this lot when they go to resell them individually and put into work? Yeah, I mean, we're going to turn $23.60, and hopefully we're going to profit net-wise $100 here or more. That is how you do it, and you just have to keep your eyes peeled right now. The market, I would say, while doing okay, is in flux. For whatever reason, bulk lots are selling for too cheap, but individual coins are doing really well. So you recognize this trend and pattern. You could really use it to your advantage in your sales. Pretty cool one here. Okay, I don't like talking about these that much because the idea is we don't see these come up in circulation. However, there have been a few that have circulated quite heavily, these double struck error coins that you see here. The reason why I wanted to talk about this one is that you have the first main strike, you have that secondary strike that's about 80% off center. What I do like, though, is that it has 2 readable dates and 2 identifying mint marks, which makes this thing, on the coolness scale, way higher than one that only has 1 readable date. It's a great-looking coin with very little wear, which indicates that it was found out and discovered really early on, probably in a mint-sewn bag of other 1978 Jefferson nickels. So that's where you would come across something like this. Not at all surprised at the sale price. This one ended up bringing in $208.10. through eBay's auction and doing quite well. It's a really beautiful coin. And guess what? It was imaged in a 2x2 cardboard flip. All right. I always tell folks, take the coin out of the flip, image it. This one works just fine. If you can find a way to eliminate a lot of the glare against the plastic of that flip, you're going to do okay, because people want to see full details on these coins if they're going to invest a couple $100 on them. So keep that in mind. I have to say that officially these coins that we're going to be looking at, specifically this one, but we're also going to talk about a few others that are very similar to this. The Hornet's Nest / Beehive die chips on Lincoln Cents, on Jefferson Nickels, and a few others. Boy, oh boy, people were sleeping on these for the longest time. And the people that were not were doing very well selling these for between $10, $15, and $20. And good on them. I'm one of those people that were on the outside just not paying too much attention to these. But, however, these are kind of a thing. You know, the same way that the Spitting Horse Delaware quarter is, or the In God We Rust Kansas quarter, right? I mean, they have a niche and a kind of a collecting base all on their own. So this 2004 Lincoln Memorial Cent, you could see the die chip right there in the first bay of the Lincoln Memorial, is quite astounding. Call it Beehive, call it Hornet's Nest, however you want to put it. It's all the same thing, and collectors love these. The cool part is, if you're roll hunting like full rolls of 2000's era Lincoln Cents and Jefferson Nickels, and you find one of these in a BU roll, and then you find another one a few coins later, odds are you're going to end up finding probably 15 of them in a roll, because they all seem to carry in that same vein of that same set of dies being used for that. So, yes, this one, ladies and gents, sold for $13.02. All right? It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but what if you found 15 of them in a roll? You know, that's easily $100 in profit right there. And guess what? They're selling really well. They're fairly consistent, much like a few of the other kind of trendy coins that I talked about. The Floating Roof 69D Lincoln Cent is another one. There are a few, ladies and gents, and this one is yet again another footnote in the annals of roll hunting that we should all know about. Because if we don't know about it and we don't pay attention to it, we'll never know that these exist. Again, look at both sides of the coin. Pretty cool one here. 1977 Jefferson Nickel with a pretty big craterous strike through on the reverse. Who knows what it could be? It could be a detached lamination from another nickel. It could be grease with some debris. It could be a detached lamination with grease. You name it. And it's something that's sitting on the die, striking this coin and leaving that omission of design there on the reverse. So this one right here, ladies and gents, ended up selling for $44.90. Holy crap. I couldn't sell a coin like this like 5-10 years ago. They were just not going for that kind of money, but times are different. Other coins are expensive. People are looking for new things to kind of invest money into and to collect and have fun. And, collecting strike-throughs that look like this is one of them. 2024 Shield Cents. Okay? Not a whole lot to find here on this date, to be honest. It was a very lackluster year for the Lincoln Cents. However, there was a little bit of good news, all right? Because if you have some of these, you're trying to figure out a why and a how that you want to crack open these rolls of 2024s, you might have a reason here. Okay, this one right here has a pretty nice die crack going through Liberty. And I forgot that this one even existed. And now you guys know that this one is out there. So this particular one here is selling for $16.15, right? We just talked about the Beehive die chip Lincoln Cent a few moments ago. This is yet again another one. Lightning Liberty kind of comes to mind as, a nickname that we could, put on this one. Lightning Liberty. I kind of like the sound of that. But if you're profiting $10 to $12 per coin sold, I'd say that's a pretty good reason to keep an eye on these. And again, much like in the same way as the Beehives, these travel in groups. So if you find one in a roll, more than likely you're going to find 15, 20 others in that same roll. Maybe more. You never know. Don't let the date fool you. All right, this is actually a very tough date piece dollar. 1927S is a very low minted date. I think it's like right around 1 million or so. That's how few of these were made. And a lot of them kind of look like this. You know, a little bit beat up, cleaned. This one definitely looks cleaned. But you see that strike through on the reverse, that little spike looking thing, right? Going through Liberty, or not Liberty, but United on the reverse there. That is what appears to be like a detached reading of some sort. All right. And then it was struck through onto the host coin that you see here. But it is a strike through. Kind of cool. Or it could be just a fragment of something else. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a detached rimber or anything of that type. But, you know, a coin because, again, don't let the state fool you, because you can find this in the melt bins of a lot of coin dealers, especially when they're clean and scratched up and all that stuff. You know, it's kind of a death sentence for these coins that otherwise would grade out like XF, you know. But in this particular case, this one sold for $72.99. So our seller here probably made 15, 20 bucks in profit by selling this one, all because of that strike through on the reverse. And strike throughs and various errors on these bigger dollar coins, my goodness, people love them because it's something that you just don't see nearly enough compared to some of the other coins like Lincoln cents and quarters and all that great stuff. There is a little bit of rarity here with these things. Another well-worn dollar bill, 1977A, but this time this is not a miscut, even though it looks like it could be a little bit miscut, and it probably is. But check out the overprint. Boy, it's shifted way up and to the right there. On that right side, you can see the green seal is not centered in the word one like it normally should be. Yeah, this one right here, someone did find this, whereas hundreds of people just really, really did not give a care, because this thing is really well worn. Looking at the reverse, yeah, it could be a miscut. You know, it's got a much larger margin at the bottom. This one here, right here, sold for $94.87, 22 bits. So if you're not looking for it, and again, a lot of people do ignore this as evidenced by the condition of this note, you're truly missing out. This is nearly $100 worth of value here that otherwise you would toss back or spend it on the next cup of joe, so to speak. All right, so we have to talk about the 2023 Extra Vs. Out of nowhere, these things are kind of like coming back onto the scene. They dipped all the way down to $3 to $5 a coin as recently as maybe May or June of this year. So right at the onset of the summertime. And here we are in near November, and these things are coming out of nowhere. We had talked about this. Like now all of a sudden the average per piece price is like creeping on $15 each. Even in some occasions reaching $20 and $25 if they're nice enough. But these 2023 Extra V Lincoln cents have been just a real delight for a lot of roll hunters, because they represent a killer amount of value. A lot of value that you can really bank on here. This is a pack of 5 that was sold by the seller. If you needed a little bit of a refresher, you know, this is relatively new images as of October 23rd. And you can see the little extra V notch next to Victor David Brenner's initials. And it's going to look like this to a T. The V notch, they are saying, is pretty close to the same V that's in the initials, but not quite. All right. I've always known a long time ago that this could be more of an ejection mark, but it's showing up on the same place on every single coin that has this. I want to also let you guys know that lots of these are in existence in circulation. And there's a lot of BU rolls of 2023. They actually produced a lot of Lincoln cents for that year. And again, a couple 100,000, I am speculating, was produced. They probably went through a full life of dies to produce this, and that could mean a lot more than 200,000. So our pack of 5, get this, selling for $91.15, 22 bids. There was also a pack of 12 that sold like within moments of the other one, probably from the same person. This one, originally the asking price was $188.59, and the best offer was accepted. Again, I cannot pull that data to find out how much specifically it sold for. I'm guessing between like $150 and $175. All right, not too big of a discount considering that the market has kind of turned on these to where they're averaging 10 to 15 bucks a pop now. So yeah, a pretty nice one there. And there was also a full roll that ended up selling within 24 hours of these two listings. So just something to keep in mind there. And the full roll sold for $350. So even more of a discount if you buy more. The more you buy, the more you save. But you could always turn around and sell them. 1952D Lincoln Wheat Set. Boy, this thing's really nice. Off-center by about 55%, I would say. Nice, tough date, too, for those folks that are collecting off-center struck coinage by date. And there are a few of you out there. You know who you are. This one selling for $140.95. The condition's really nice. Dare I say, probably a high-end AU coin, AU58 brown. Not ready quite to give it a mid-state grade in brown, but it's awfully close. It's got some luster on there and a pretty neat date. Here's another one that most people did ignore, 1977D. This is a date in mid-mark that we normally don't see CUD die breaks that often. There's probably 2 known CUDs for this date and mid-mark. This is one of them. The CUD is right there at the base of Lincoln's bust. Connecting the rim and going into the design of Lincoln's bust. That is essentially a piece of the die that had cracked and broken and fallen out, thereby creating this beauty that you see here. I love CUDs. This one selling for $55. Okay, I knew it was a tougher date because of the sale price. Yeah, no one will throw themselves in front of a coin like this on just about any other date unless they knew it was a tough one. And this one is indeed a tougher date for CUD die breaks. We've talked about this one actually the last 2 or 3 pocket change market reports, and they're all kind of they're like good condition, really nothing to write home to mother about. But the 1897 Indian head cent with the 1 in neck misplaced digit in XF, boy, that is awesome. It does have some goopta on the reverse, some sort of grease or something. It doesn't quite look like a carbon spot. I might be wrong. Carbon spotting is like rust on steel. It's not going to go away. It is permanent to the coin. But boy, yeah, that errant misplaced 1 digit in the neck where the little pointed flag of the 1 is sticking out of the neck is crazy. I found a few of these, but none nearly as nice as this one. So again, much nicer condition. They're worth a lot more as expected. Those lower condition examples that we've talked about that have sold for $30 to $50, that's to be expected. This one, however, selling for $238.95. Would you believe that? You wouldn't know it, but yeah, this one here is a neat one. 1981 P Washington quarter. Why is there 2 different colors of this coin? Okay, because we all know they're copper nickel clad after 1964, and this one is definitely in that era. However, this one is missing the obverse nickel clad layer. All right, so we have a copper side and then a nickel side, and it's underweight. It only weighs 4.8 grams, which is a good fair amount, even missing the nickel layer. And you can tell that the planchet was also a little bit thinner too as a result of the missing clad layer, because you could see the weakness in the strike, specifically on the word Liberty, which is a telltale sign, and then certain areas on the reverse, like $quarter is a little bit on the weak side. Anything on the peripheral edge of the coin will show some weakness. This baby right here sold for $70. Pretty cool. And considering it's not graded, this is a great example. If you need something like this in your error collection, this is probably one of the best looking examples I've seen in a while. Undated Roosevelt dime struck through a very late stage die cap. And no, it does not have a brockage. Brockage is different. Even though you're able to see kind of like the outline of Roosevelt, on a brockage, it's going to be in reverse. And oftentimes it's going to be the opposite side of the coin, which is normally the reverse design details of that cap transferred to the obverse of the strike of the coin. This one is not. This is just, it was struck through a very late stage, very razor thin. We're talking paper thin cap die at this point, because they had struck all these other coins with that measly Roosevelt dime stuck to the head of that obverse cap, or that obverse die rather. And this is coming up toward the end. You know, it's probably real close to the mint employee finding it out, kind of scraping off the what's left of that coin off of the obverse die, and then calling it good. All right. This one right here, by the way, selling for $54.48. These things are about as consistent as cuds. They're very, very sellable and highly liquid in today's error market. So if you do come across one of these, yeah, make sure that you hold on to them. And when you're ready to sell, just know that you could get a fair amount of Gouda for it. I'm not talking cheese either. And the last coin on this edition of the PCMR, bicentennial, off-center struck $50. Man, that's cool. It's not like in your face crazy. It's only off-center by like 8 to 10%, if that. And it's a coin that has been around the block. It's got some grease and paint or something on the reverse. It definitely has circulated. If you're finding one of these in your roll hunts because people are looking for silver in $50 rolls, boy, this thing right here is as good as silver. This one, by the way, is selling for $114.55 with 4 bids this time. A great, great example of something that you generally should not miss or toss back, because this one right here will end up returning a whole lot more beneficially to you rather than just finding silver. So just saying, you know. That's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this one here. Information in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Keep that in mind as you continue to go through your progression and your education of learning more about errors and varieties. And before you make it a business, that's always key. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys so much. Glad to be back. I'm feeling worlds better, and I'll hopefully see you guys later on here in about an hour on Whatnot with some good stuff. We have a lot of great stuff, by the way. So come check it out, and I hope to see you soon. All right. Love you guys. Have a good one. And keep on collecting, my friends.